I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, you can't help that. Most everyone's mad here. You may have noticed that I'm not all there myself. And the more us outgrave.
Goodness. If the people here are like that, I must try not to upset them.
They think they're untouchable, that their charm is armor, that their arrogance is power. But narcissists are not indestructible gods. They're walking glass castles with gold paint, and once you know where the cracks are, it doesn't take force to destroy them. It takes precision, cold calculation, and silence. The narcissist thrives on admiration, attention, and the illusion of superiority. Strip those away, not with open war, but with strategic detachment, and you'll see the monster panic. Because the truth is, narcissists are addicted to control, and when you stop reacting, when you become unreadable, you rip that control out of their hands. They don't fear being disliked. They fear being irrelevant. That's where your power begins. You don't need to argue with them. You don't need to fight for justice or scream for fairness. You need to disappear emotionally, because narcissists aren't looking for love. They're looking for worship. They don't want a partner. They want a mirror. So when the mirror cracks, when you stop feeding their illusion, they implode. But to defeat a narcissist, you must become emotionally invisible. You must master the art of neutrality. The less you give them, the more they crave. The more they crave, the more desperate they become. And desperation is vulnerability. That's your window. Narcissists see kindness as weakness, empathy as a flaw. So if you want to win, you must stop playing the role they cast you in. You must stop proving your worth. You must stop explaining yourself. Every explanation is fuel. Every emotional reaction is a reward. Every attempt to expose them is a gift they turn into a weapon. That's why Machiavelli never said, confront power. He said, manipulate perception. Let them think they've won while you quietly rearrange the battlefield. Do not try to fix a narcissist. That's their trap. They'll lure you with a false wound, a hint of vulnerability, just enough to make you think there's a soul to save. There isn't. What you're seeing is a performance. They study you like prey. They read your empathy like a playbook. So if you want to survive and dominate, you need to become unreadable. No emotion, no validation, no protest, just ice. They crave chaos because chaos gives them control. So you give them silence, you give them confusion, you become a mirror they can't recognize. They'll lash out, they'll escalate. That's the test. If you flinch, you lose. If you stay silent, you win. Because the one thing narcissists can't stand is being unseen. You want revenge? Starve them of attention. You want justice? Watch them unravel as their audience vanishes. But remember, narcissists don't play fair. They play psychological warfare. That means they'll bait you with guilt, shame, even fake apologies. Don't fall for it. The moment you believe they've changed is the moment they tighten the leash. You must think like a strategist, not a lover. Like a lion, not a lamb. They want drama. You give them calm. They want reaction. You give them indifference. And if you do speak, speak in cold facts. No emotion, no energy. Let your words be surgical strikes, not wild explosions. The more in control you are, the more out of control they become. And when they finally expose their true face, when their mask slips in public, don't celebrate. Document, observe, prepare. Because narcissists don't self-destruct loudly, they decay quietly. And if you've played your cards right, They'll do it without you lifting a single finger. That's Machiavellian. That's power. It's not about outshouting them, it's about outlasting them. Narcissists burn bright but fast. You must be the cold flame that never wavers. Emotionless, focused, and when they realize they can't control you anymore, they'll either rage or retreat. Both are victories, because when you stop feeding the narcissist, they're forced to face the emptiness they've been running from. And that is something they'll do anything to avoid, even destroy themselves. You didn't destroy them. They did. You just stepped back and let gravity finish what pride started. That is the Machiavellian way. They talk too much. Narcissists weaponize words the way a serpent uses venom, coated in charm, wrapped in half-truths, and always aimed at control. But the most Machiavellian counterattack to this relentless noise is silence. Not passive silence, strategic silence. Silence that communicates power. Silence that unnerves. When you stop responding, you change the rules of the game. The narcissist depends on your reaction to feel alive. Every argument is oxygen. Every protest is proof they still own a piece of your mind. So take the oxygen away. Go gray, emotionless, empty, but alert. They will squirm. They will push every button. They will call you cold, unloving, selfish. That's a sign you're winning. Because narcissists don't argue to resolve. They argue to dominate. When you stop defending yourself, when you stop playing the script they wrote for you, you kill their power at the root. Silence is not weakness. It's psychological superiority, and it must be controlled like a scalpel, cutting at just the right places. When they provoke, respond with stillness. When they lie, don't correct. Let them expose themselves in their own chaos. The narcissist's ego is built like a house of cards. You don't need to blow. It falls when the wind of indifference touches it. That's the trap they never see coming. They expect rage. They expect emotion. They are prepared for war. But what they cannot handle is nothing. No text back, no reaction, no rise in your tone. Just a cold, observant silence that forces them to confront the emptiness of their performance. And they hate that. Because silence doesn't just deny them attention. It reflects their hollowness. Narcissists see themselves as gods. When you stop worshiping, they panic. And in that panic, they make mistakes. They overreach. They reveal things. They expose the cracks. The true genius of Machiavellian silence is not what it withholds, it's what it forces the narcissist to reveal. They talk louder, lie bigger, turn more manipulative. But it's all reactive now. You've taken initiative without moving. You've made them unstable without saying a word. That's psychological dominance. That's the new battlefield. Understand, this isn't about ignoring them out of spite. It's about weaponizing your absence. Silence, when used correctly, becomes a mirror. It forces narcissists to look at themselves, and what they see terrifies them. That's why they scramble to pull you back in. They will fake apologies. They will feign vulnerability. They will say just enough of the right words to make you feel like they've changed. They haven't. It's bait. Always bait. That's why your silence must be paired with awareness, because once you go silent, they will shift to guilt. They'll say you're heartless, that you abandoned them, that no one else understands them like you do. Do not fall for the performance. If you respond even a little, they've won. Silence must be your fortress, not to punish but to protect. Every word you don't say becomes a message. You no longer control my emotions, and that message drives them insane. But here's the beauty of strategic silence. It doesn't just break the narcissist's illusion, it heals your clarity. In the absence of their noise, you start to see them for what they really are. The lies become clearer, the manipulation more obvious. Your power, once scattered in reaction, begins to concentrate. Regain control, one silent second at a time. That's what Machiavelli understood. That control is not always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet presence of someone who knows exactly what's going on and refuses to play the fool. That's your posture now. Still, cold, unbothered. They will call it emotional immaturity. It's not. It's strategic warfare. Narcissists don't understand peace. They interpret calm as contempt. But you are not here to teach them. You are here to neutralize them. And silence is your sharpest blade. Let them scream into the void. Let them flail in confusion. You remain still. Because in a world addicted to reaction, stillness is terrifying, and that's the power they cannot steal. If you truly want to crush a narcissist without lifting a finger, you must first give them exactly what they crave: illusion. Because the easiest way to break something is not to strike it head-on, but to let it grow comfortable, arrogant, and overexposed, and that begins by feeding their ego just enough to blind them. A narcissist's greatest weakness is their need to feel superior. They will believe anything, no matter how outrageous, if it flatters them. They'll trust praise over truth every single time, so give it to them. Not because you admire them, but because you're setting the stage. You make them feel invincible. You let them underestimate you. You nod while they boast. You agree while they lie. You build their confidence like a bomb you know is going to detonate. That's Machiavellian. That's how you trap a narcissist, by letting them trap themselves. Don't confront their delusions. Use them. Don't try to correct their lies. Let them build them higher. The more fiction they create, the more vulnerable they become. Because every narcissist builds a tower of ego with no foundation. And the higher it rises, the harder it falls. You don't need to sabotage it. They'll do that on their own. All you have to do is guide the performance. Give them the stage, applaud their vanity, and stay quiet. Watch how much rope they pull when they think no one's watching. Watch how careless they become when they think they've won. They'll brag to the wrong people. They'll take credit they didn't earn. They'll manipulate one too many pawns. And then the trap closes. Not because you attacked, but because you allowed. You allowed them to grow reckless. You allowed them to drown in their own ego. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's already over. That's the true Machiavellian method. Subtle, invisible, effective. Understand. You don't need to match a narcissist's aggression to win. You need to make them comfortable. Comfortable enough to stop hiding. Comfortable enough to expose their tactics. Comfortable enough to believe they're untouchable. That's when the mask slips. And here's where it gets lethal. Once the narcissist thinks you admire them, they reveal everything. They let their guard down. They brag about how they manipulate others. They share secrets, believing you're too weak or in love to ever use it. That's the moment you collect. Not revenge, information. Not rage, leverage. While they talk, you listen. While they brag, you prepare, because everything they reveal will eventually serve your victory. This is not kindness. This is cold strategy. The illusion of loyalty is the most dangerous weapon you have. Let them believe you're on their side. Let them believe you're naive. The more they believe they own you, the more they expose themselves. And when the time is right, you walk away, with clarity, with power, and with every weapon they handed you. They'll call you a traitor. They'll scream that you changed. But you didn't change. You watched. You waited. You survived. And now you strike. Not with fists, not with chaos, but with detachment. That's the endgame. That's the trap. And once it's sprung, they'll have no one to blame but their own pride. That's the Machiavellian way. The greatest illusion narcissists live by is control. They script every conversation, manipulate every interaction, and weaponize every word to control the way you see them and the way others see you. But the Machiavellian does not challenge control directly. You don't break their script. You rewrite it, quietly, surgically. You start by learning their patterns, how they lie, how they shift blame, how they twist facts to serve their image. Every narcissist thrives on creating a narrative where they are always the victim or the hero, so let them believe it. But in the shadows, you start flipping the story. Subtly, coldly. You feed the cracks. You ask questions in public that make them stammer. You plant doubt with a smile. You make people around them pause for just a second, and that second is all it takes. Because narcissists crumble when people stop believing them. Their power doesn't come from truth. It comes from perception. Control that, and you own them. Understand this. You don't need to prove they're a narcissist. You need to make them reveal it themselves. Give them opportunities to overplay their hand. Let them lie where others are listening. Let them humiliate someone publicly while you watch. Say nothing, but remember everything. Narcissists create enemies everywhere. They just think no one notices. You notice. And then, piece by piece, you expose the pattern. Not in a dramatic explosion, but in a surgical campaign of clarity. Others start to whisper, start to ask questions, start to pull away. The narcissist feels it, but they don't understand it. They'll lash out, get desperate. They'll blame you, try to smear you, twist the story again. But now you're the one shaping the narrative, and here's the twist they never expect. Use their tactics against them. Mirror their manipulation, but with discipline. Use their arrogance, but with precision. They lie, you question. They insult, you remain calm. They scream, you smirk. That's how you flip the narrative. They unravel, you rise. They react, you remain composed. In time, the people around them will see it. The contrast becomes undeniable. The narcissist's own behavior becomes your evidence. You don't need to expose them. They expose themselves. Because in the hands of a Machiavellian mind, every attack becomes a mirror. Every smear becomes a confession. And the narcissist, once so obsessed with controlling the narrative, realizes too late that the story has turned. You are no longer the target. You are the author. And that's when the collapse begins, not with rage, but with indifference. Not with confrontation, but with control. The narcissist flails. You stay still. They gossip. You observe. They lie louder. You speak less. Until no one believes them anymore. That's how you win. Not by shouting, not by proving, but by taking back the story one moment at a time.